you are standing on the backs of giants. You may not have known that, but this particular period, time in our world is causing more of us to recognize that. I'm speaking of this challenging time. It's January 2022 now. We've been going through this for more than two years now, but it's actually been so much longer than that. We're just recognizing it because it came to this place, this crescendo, which we will all start to see now. So what we're dealing with are our deep-held, unconscious thoughts, but also the collective unconscious, which is far more challenging because you have no memory of that. You don't know. You just have energetic feelings because you're connected to all that came before. Now, I didn't understand this at first, but I was given this information. And then I see, after I downloaded this program, Your Life Operating Instructions, I'm understanding why it worked. Because I was given this a long time ago. I had been in therapy. I'd been doing so many things. We've all done things to reach that place of where we're feeling that we're on our path or doing what we're meant to do in this life. So we do different things, different modalities. We all do. So I was doing therapy for a while. And at some point, I came to this great awareness. Everything that was wrong in my life was my father's fault. Everything. I mean, it had to be. Because he was really disconnected emotionally from what was going on with me. And I thought that's probably why I've been disconnected from myself. So I thought the best thing to do to get over that was to confront him. And I said, I'm going to have it. I called him up. I said, let's sit down and have a talk. I have to talk to you about all of this. And I sat there and I poured out my heart. I told him all of these things that were coming up. And that this is why I'm not where I should be, because you weren't the kind of father you should have been. He didn't say anything. He just looked at me. He just sat there. I'm just trying to get some sort of reaction. Nothing. He just looked at me. And then at the end, he said, when I was all done, he says, you had it better than most. And I thought about that for a while, and I thought, why'd you say that? Now I don't have anybody to blame. See, because that's what I was given from my Wilhelm. And that's what's in my program about blame. When we do that, how can I change anything? And so then I thought, well, why was he there? Why was he? Why did he exist other than, to produce the sperm for me to be born? Well, no. And then I say, and Wilhelm has said, you picked your parents, and you picked them for a reason. When you figure that out, and I said, oh, he said that to me so that I could become self-sufficient, so I could start going on a journey to become self-actualized, because that's what we're all here to do, which is the part that's in my program, the Maslow thing about the self-actualized person, because we only become who we want to be when we can reach that place, when we're not dependent on what the others are doing or have done or thinking of us or whatever. But as we move through our lives, we have to move through all other things, restrictions, limitations, sometimes that we didn't even know existed until they come up when we're going through a really stressful period. That's why a lot of people freaked out during the pandemic, because they had never dealt with anything like this. And this was too frightening because they wanted to be safe, all of us. But we may have inadvertently placed our power into other people, other situations, and this time could be incredibly challenging. There's something going on now where people who once thought that they knew exactly where they were going and could make decisions very easily are finding themselves, wait, I don't know what to do now. That's really fascinating. Then there are other people who had trouble all their lives making decisions or coming to own themselves, are now starting to feel, wait a minute, maybe there's something I can do. Maybe there's something within me that I had not acknowledged. Well, that is true for everyone. Doesn't matter how long we're alive, what we're doing. Look at me. I've evolved so many times, and I keep talking about it because I know that that's what I was meant to do and experience, because I had to move through my own sense of limitation. And the way that I do that is by giving you my process. That's really what happens. And see, because I can look at this 12-year-old kid who experienced so many tragedies at such a young age. First one, I fell through the ice. How horrible could that be? And then I moved into a new place. I was out of place, so I know what that was like. And then later on, I lost everything over and over and over again. When you start, detaching from physical things, you start to find a little bit more of who you are. And that's what goes on. But I still didn't understand it. And I'm saying this because every single person, every client that I've worked with has something there that I'm better able to see than I can see it better than they can. Couldn't see it in myself either. But that's purposeful. See, because when you come to hear something from someone else, it probably makes more sense because you've heard it your entire lives. We all have guidance, however you call it or think of it. We all have that. And sometimes we choose to listen to it and believe it or not. And sometimes we make different choices. We've made choices over time where we were worthless. We didn't have any value. Nobody wanted us, whatever it was. And so we programmed that. We have the ability to change that at any time, but we may not have known how. I was given the way to change it. I was given the way. I didn't know it at the time, but it was a process. It was going through this and taking and using new ideas and doing that. There's another thing that they told me that they use, and this term doesn't even exist, but there's a few people who have talked about it, but it's something that I can see very, very clearly, and it's bioneurology. Meaning that our biology and the way that we use our brains, all those things work together to create the integrated person that we're meant to be. And then as we understand those and work with them effectively, then we become self-actualized. And that's the point of everything. We are each here to do something that causes us to become more. And the only reason we don't do that is because we start believing something differently. And if we've done that for a really long time, then we have to do something else that's going to give us the ability to consistently change those old beliefs, because that's all we're doing, is changing those old beliefs. My entire program, if you haven't gotten this by now, it's about you working with you. The program doesn't tell you what to do. It tells you what to ask. It tells you what to search for. It tells you how to go inside. All of that. Because you're working with your mind. You don't experience anything in your life other than how you choose to perceive it. Your perspective. How you choose to see things. That's all. And so if you've formed habits that have not allowed you to see your genius, to see your brilliance, then you still have a little bit of work to do. That's all. Because every single person was born with it. That's the other thing that Wilhelm says every single time. There's no hierarchy of souls. Meaning you were born with everything else that everyone else has, except that we choose at certain times in our life, in our experience, in our evolutionary journeys, we will just choose what time we're going to recognize that, decide to use it. And for a lot of people, it might be now. Because that was the reason that you were born, to be alive now, to move through what my Wilhelm says is a restructuring so you can start to become your best self. You will.